was completely uninhabitable and cost Ben £250,000.
Because it was a commercial building, there was nothing that really could remain beyond the bare walls. I mean, we even had to take the roof off. There's no insulation on the floor, or the ceiling, or the walls. You know, when you look at change of use and building regs, this all has to happen. You can't not do it.
The early days of this project were hardly plain sailing.
My relationship with the first builder's degraded, and you come back from a full day of work and you open the door and you can't see much progress, but you've got another bill in your hand. It's, you know, you sit there thinking, God, is it going to end?
But with new builders in place, the project was back on track, and Ben could start to see his vision for an ecologically sound home taking shape.
I like to be green where possible. Rainwater harvesting and solar thermal, they were both things that I was very keen on putting in. And I started getting excited about the property when we can actually start to see some of the finished aspects of the room. I love the luxury of walking around and having a lot of space and light as well. You know, there's a lot of light to come in. The roof terrace is just fantastic. One thing that stuck in my mind was the saying, truth to materials, not to try and dress something up to be something that it isn't. I like all the features that I've had a hand in, you know, and whether it's design or actually building of the pieces, it's all been pretty rewarding.
Oh, wow. So have a good look around. There is plenty to take in. Fantastic. Ben, maybe you could start us off by telling us what this was like when you took it on.
It was actually in pretty good shape, you know. I think the Victorians put up a fairly good structure, you know. The beams are all true and no rot, anything like that.
Oh, very good.
Right,
Because
you've got the clearly designated areas, but it's still got that open feel to it, which is something we're going to try and achieve with ours.
How did you want to sort of configure it, how exactly what you wanted in this space?
My primary goal has always been to have a big workshop. And, you know, now I can have dinner and just walk 2 yards and I'm in my workshop.
We've got the chapel of rest off to the side, that's going to be my music room.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same for me. You know, having a space just off the main living area where I can go and work is going to be fantastic.
And you're going to be creating a kitchen from scratch. I mean, what do you make of what you see there?
The concrete worktops are fantastic. That's something we decided on early on, wasn't it, that we wanted?
Yeah.
But we thought that cost might make it impossible.
I made those ones myself, actually.
Yeah.
It's not too difficult, but it is time consuming.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can cast little details. You'll see that I've put keys from 1952 to do with the chapel, and there's one in each worktop. You know, if I'd got someone to do that professionally, I think it would have been over 10 or 15,000 pounds.
I think you've been really clever because you've got the curve of the kitchen floor matching the curve of the worktop there, and it also distinguishes where the kitchen is and where it ends.
I can really see us doing that, and it gives me some ideas of how we're going to divide everything up. We're looking at having underfloor heating. Everybody that we've spoken to says it's better to have a concrete floor screeded and then put a flooring over the top.
That's what I've done here,
Yeah.
actually.
Oh, okay.
These floorboards, they were thick,
Yeah.
the Victorian ones. We ended up planing them down sort of underfloor
So that
thickness.
allows the heat through.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's the other thing then. If your floor is actually quite thin, you're thinking it can't hold the weight at the moment, it might actually be the right thickness to go on top of underfloor heating once you've laid down everything else.
I mean, especially if we did a different flooring for the kitchen section,
Yeah.
we'd have enough to do the rest of the...
Yeah, and actually that might be a very authentic way of keeping some of the history.
Yeah. It's been difficult for me to visualise how we're going to make that work. You know, combining old and new and making it a success, but you can see straight away that it does work really well. I'm curious to find out what this is actually.
Yeah, would you like to have a look?
Yeah, definitely. Extravagant for you.
Quite incredible, isn't it?
And it's more than a few bottles of wine as well.
It holds 275 bottles. I designed and built it with a friend of mine.
That's the point, I guess. If you take on a property and if you're completely open-minded, you can pretty much do anything. Well, look, this is all a bit too tempting. I suggest no glasses of wine at this point. Let's continue the tour, shall we?
Let me show you upstairs in the master bedroom.
Did you design these stairs yourself?
Yes, I had a friend help me who does that for a living.
They look fantastic.
So we can see up here the ceiling, the wood goes the whole length of the building, and that's all original.
Yeah, it was one of the features that really stood out immediately. I walked into the property. It was covered in a dark varnish and the workshop was painted white, but we wanted to sandblast them and bring them back up to their natural colour.
You guys want to make your building as environmentally friendly as possible. Is that an aim you had? Is that something you've managed to achieve?
Yeah, I've tried to put a lot of green emphasis into the build.